Tom Clark's 6M podcast is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show.
Hey, what is up? Welcome to Tom Clark's 6M podcast. I'm your host, Tom Clark, and in this episode, I'm joined by co-host Phil Lindsey.
The new Spider-Man movie is filming as we record this, kids, and it's pretty much everywhere. There's, I was going to say behind the scenes. It's not behind the scenes. It's been filmed in broad daylight. So there's fan videos happening, and they can't really do anything about all that. But Tom Holland's going out of his way to be really cool with people and shaking hands and bumping fists and high-fiving and stuff because he's freaking awesome. Tom Holland is a national treasure, ladies and gentlemen, especially when it comes to the role of Spider-Man. We personally love the kid. He's doing a bang-up job. However, today, although I'm sure his name will come up as we go through this, we're talking about another Spider-Man, another web slinger, another webhead, another wall crawler who donned the costume 3 different occasions now, if my math is correct. Andrew Garfield, because we're covering The Amazing Spider-Man. And this is I was going to say, it's not your daddy's Spider-Man. Well, no, it's not. But it's somewhere in between. This, to me, is an odd little nugget of a 2-movie franchise that just is kind of sitting there. And Phil dropped some wild stuff on me before I hit record that I can't wait to pick his brain about. So we're not going to waste a whole lot of time because I want to get to it. But before we get to it, let's do this. The Amazing Spider-Man is a 2012 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics character Spider-Man, which shares the title of the longest-running Spider-Man comic book series. It was produced by Columbia Pictures in association with Marvel Entertainment, Laura Ziskin Pictures, Arid Productions, we know that guy, and Matt Tolmach Productions, and distributed by Sony Pictures Releasing. Everyone feel free to boo that. It is the 4th theatrical Spider-Man film, serving as a reboot following Sam Raimi's 2002-2007 Spider-Man trilogy. The film was directed by Marc Webb, written by James Vanderbilt, Alvin Sargent, and Steve Kloves. That's a lot of people. Based on a story by Vanderbilt, and stars Andrew Garfield, as we said, and a litany of other actors, actresses here, who we will get to today. As we said, this movie, distributed by Sony Pictures, I'm sure we'll talk about that as we go, released in Tokyo on June 13th, 2012, in the United States on July 3rd, 2012. The budget for this movie, $200 to $230 million. Box office, $758.7 million. And at a total runtime of 136 minutes, that is your lowdown for The Amazing Spider-Man. So, Phil, we started talking, and you said some stuff to me about how you feel about this, and then I hit record. So repeat what you just said, because, I always usually kick these things off with, what's your overall take on the movie or the whatever we're doing? Hit me with what you hit me with before we started recording.
Hey, if you listen to this podcast or if you follow me anywhere, it's a well-known fact that I am a Spider-Man fan. I would say probably since I was about 10 years old. Spider-Man has been my favorite comic book character, bar none. I would watch anything with Spider-Man in it. Just because I am a fan. I really wanted to like this movie. I did. I did not like this movie. I think there are good things about it. As we go through this, there will be things that I can get into that I enjoyed about it. But on the whole, I think it misses the mark.
Interesting. So this first segment could go 40 minutes, if you're that anti, right? But let me. I don't mean you're totally anti, but what is it about it for you that immediately if you had to list it, what's the first thing that jumps out at you? It's like, yeah, that's not working.
Well, I think that the movie fit in an awkward spot because it's not like there was a long time that passed by after the Raimi films.
Right.
The Raimi films were very successful, and there are a lot of fans that love those movies. I am a big fan of the first two movies. I don't
Sure.
think that 3 is like as horrible as people make it out to be, but it's not very good either.
No.
But Spider-Man 2, I think, is one of the greatest comic book movies ever made. Um, and I think because it's so close to the Sam Raimi films, you immediately had the same dynamic that's going on right now with Warner Brothers, where there are some people that are going to be against this no matter what because they wanted a fourth Sam Raimi movie.
Mm.
And because there were also quite a few people that didn't enjoy the Raimi films, they wanted something else. They wanted something different. And so I think this movie fit that void for some people that wanted something or a different tone from the Sam Raimi films. And it's definitely a different tone in a lot of ways. We heard grounded a lot.
Mm.
And in the months leading up to the release of this movie that they wanted a more grounded approach to Spider-Man, and boy, they tried. They tried to give us the dark and gritty version of Spider-Man, grounded, and I think there's a lot here that I didn't like for that reason. I think
Mm.
that it tries so hard to, and I get why it needed to be different from the Sam Raimi films,
Sure.
but I think it tries so hard to be kind of like this antithesis to it, um, that there are bits of it that just don't work. There are very odd editing choices in this movie as well. Like one of my big issues with it is kind of attached to one of the things I like about it. Funny enough, um, we spend the first maybe 40 minutes of this movie um, before we see Spider-Man, before we see him in costume at all,
That's
and
fair.
they spend a lot of time with Peter Parker and building up this character before we get to Spider-Man. And that's the right approach because as any person that knows anything about Spider-Man, the story is Peter Parker.
Yes.
Once he puts the mask on and everything else, that's an extension of the story. But the story is not Spider-Man. The story is the man behind the mask.
Hmm.
So I get that. But you spend 40 minutes setting up a lot of things that kind of lead to nowhere.
Mm.
You set up the mystery with his parents,
Hmm.
and very early on in the movie, he finds the briefcase that's his dad's in the basement, and even the flashbacks in early in the movie that set up, okay, his parents had to run off and do something. We never get an answer as to what happened there. Where did they go? How did that fit into the Osborne Corporation? He starts investigating it. That's the whole reason he's examining the briefcase. It doesn't go anywhere. We don't
Mm.
learn anything new about that by the end of the movie. Um, we all know we've seen the origin before.
Sure.
Um, Peter Parker um, runs off and tries to, you know, assert himself once he gets powers, and that leads to one of the formative moments that makes him who he is, and that's Uncle Ben being murdered and the guilt he feels. Um, we get the setup of him being in a convenience store. He lets the guy run off with the money that he steals out of register. He has the star tattoo, and the thing that gets him to start wearing the mask and doing the vigilante work is to find this guy. He never finds him.
That's true. He never finds him.
He never finds him, and it's never mentioned again.
Isn't that crazy?
It's never mentioned again. Not even in the second movie.
What were they waiting on, you think? Was there a plan to do a third and they were going to release it, like tease it at some point or come back to it or what?
Yeah. And that's one of those things that just drives me crazy about this movie is there's like happenstance things that happen, and then it just kind of drifts off and leads to nowhere. Or there's something that just happens, and they don't give us enough time to digest it or let it breathe. They immediately undo it.
Hmm.
And they do that a few times in the movie. it's, it's crazy. Like they set up all this time like I said, 40 whole minutes before he gets in his mask.
Mm-hmm.
And so you set up all of these plot points. You do this slow burn with all of this stuff with the parents and all this other stuff. And then you get no real resolution to it. And then the other interesting stuff that you do set up once he puts the mask on, it's like, oh, that's kind of an interesting dynamic with this character, or this is cool. And then it's just immediately like, nope, we're gonna move on from that.
Right.
Like when I first saw it, the thing that I threw my hands up leaving the theater, I was just like, all right. The great thing about the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie is everything he learns throughout the movie. He chases the girl for the entire movie, which is a Peter Parker story to its T.
Sure.
He wants this. He says it at the beginning of the movie. The story is about a girl. It's always about a girl. And he finally gets the girl at the end of the movie, but because he's Peter Parker and he'll always be Spider-Man, he can't have the girl.
Mm-hmm.
And you set up the same dynamic here of he watched Captain Stacy die. And his dying breath is leave Gwen out of it.
Right.
And we know this from the comic books. He has a very tragic story. And so you end the movie, you could have ended the movie in the same note of I'm Spider-Man, and because I'll always be Spider-Man, there is no place for us. No, you set up he made this promise on his deathbed, and by the end of the movie, he's like, oh, well, the best promises are promise you don't keep. And I was just like, okay, so why did we do any of that? What was the point of any of that then? What was the purpose of even setting that all up to undo it by the end of the movie? And then you get to the second movie, and then they're still together, and then not even 30 minutes of the movie, he's like, what kind of person am I that I'm with you? How can I do this? Like, why does any of this make any sense? Like, why are we doing any of this? Like,
she's far too purty. That's what it is, Phil. She is far too purty to leave alone. Yeah, and like he's just flippant about it at the end. Like, it'll be fine. This will be fine. Guess what, kids? It's not fine. If you hadn't seen part 2, it's not fine.
And then it ended up not being fine. What makes it worse? I couldn't have rolled my eyes any harder at the ending. And I know it's supposed to be one of those things where whatever will be, and like we're supposed to root for him to succeed and be able to be Spider-Man and get the girl, but I just think when you write a story and you get to certain dynamics, there should be anticipation.
Hmm.
If you set up the anticipation at the end of the movie that he knows he can't be with her, but he's gonna try to be with her again, that should be a cliffhanger. Get us to that point in the second movie.
Right.
But you can't end the movie on that note because it's too similar to Sam Raimi. And that's what I
Exactly.
mean. You make so many creative choices to get away from the movie he made. And I think it was to the detriment of this movie sometimes.
Right. I agree with that. Yeah. Well, here's what I'll tell you. I thought that Garfield was the bright spot. He's such a great freaking actor. And there are moments of this movie where I kind of felt like, man, he's better than the scene he's in. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. I think that he was great casting.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember in the lead up to the movie, and he talked about how excited he was to do this movie. You can tell he's really a fan of Spider-Man.
Yes.
He did the Comic-Con where he came dressed up as Spider-Man, and he asked a question at the Comic-Con, and that's when he did the whole speech about how much it meant to him to be Spider-Man.
It's great.
It was great. And I think that for both of these movies, Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2, he and Emma Stone tried their best to elevate the source material that they were getting here, because the script for both of these movies is not very good.
No.
But he tries his best, and boy, I think he's inspired casting for multiple reasons. He nails some of the like kind-hearted stuff of Peter Parker. I think he's got the perfect build to play Spider-Man. He's lanky and he's tall. He's got the look. I think he's got the look with the mask off. Sometimes he looks a little too like good looking kind of to be Peter Parker in my opinion.
Yes.
He doesn't look average enough to be Peter Parker. And
100%.
I think that's part of what Tobey Maguire had. Like, yeah, he's a movie star, but there's something about him that looks like average guy.
Yeah. Yes.
But at the same time, I think that Andrew Garfield in Mask, his banter was better than Tobey's.
Much better.
I think that he nailed like the New York accent. He sounded like a New York guy.
Yep.
I think he felt natural in the suit doing like the comedy and jumping back and forth to the awkwardness as Peter Parker. I think all of that worked. This version of Peter Parker is also kind of not for me. Like the skateboarding and some of the other stuff, I just look at it like,
Like, we don't know he's smart at all until he starts talking to Dr. Connors. Then you're like, oh, Peter Parker is smart after all. Actually, I think it's when he's talking to Ben about the flooding.
yes.
Well, wait a minute, he is smart, but to your point, he wasn't really smart until he started talking. Whereas Peter Parker should be, when you see him, it should be as kid's a nerd.
Yes. But again, you set up so many things that revolve around the mystery with the parents. I mean, the whole reason he wore glasses is because he wore his dad's glasses.
Yes.
And so to make so much of the first half of this movie about that mystery, and then to not even get a cliffhanger or anything with the parents, that was such an odd choice.
I was taken out of the film in the first 2 minutes by the parents thing. And we'll get to the cast here in a few minutes, but like his dad, I didn't believe it. I didn't feel it. It wasn't working for me. No disrespect to the actor. It wasn't working. You're leaving your kid and he turns around and he says, be good. I'm like, that's what you gave the guy to say was be good? Really? Like,
yeah.
I'm sure they wanted to make that some big, deep meaning thing later. Like he's a good person. He's a hero, huh? Like, which was weird. But I wasn't feeling that at all, dude. All that felt very, you know what it felt like, Phil? Guys, we can't do the Sam Raimi stuff. We've got to be different. Let's do his parents. That's why it didn't work.
Yeah, and I mean, look, doing the stuff with his parents, it could have worked, but I don't think they devoted enough time to advancing that plot line in either of the two movies.
Sure.
For it to matter. And I guess it was supposed to be this through line through the entire franchise because they were trying to build spin-offs and all these other things, and so maybe they thought they were going to give you breadcrumbs every movie, but there wasn't enough here in this movie to justify that much screen time for it.
Yeah, because there was a lot of screen time reserved for that stuff.
Yes, I mean, the first thing we see in the movie is him with his parents.
Yes.
And it's tough because depending on your introduction to Spider-Man, we don't spend a lot of time with his parents.
No.
And so this is kind of a foreign thing. Most people know May. They know Uncle Ben.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all they know.
Yep.
Most people probably don't know like the plot line with his parents from the comics. And I know that was a part of the Ultimate comics, and that's part of why they wanted to go in this route and make it more like Ultimate Spider-Man. Sure. But again, if you're going to tell a story, you've got to have a beginning, middle, and end. If you're going to spend so much of the beginning of this movie setting up a mystery, we got to get at least something, right?
Mm.
Like, prime example. I think the perfect example for this. The beginning of Kill Bill is the bride laying on the ground and she gets shot in the head. Throughout the movie, we find out more of who Bill and Assassination Squad are. So by the time we get to the end of the first Kill Bill movie, it doesn't matter that we know everything about Bill, but we get that great cliffhanger of Bill saying, does she know her daughter's still alive? That's enough to get you interested to come back and go, okay, what else is going on with Bill? What about her daughter? What about the rest of the members of the Assassination Squad that she's going out against? Like, I'm now hooked. I want to know more about this. I didn't come at the end of this movie wanting to know more about his parents.
No, not a bit. Yeah, because they showed it to you, then they took it away, and they never explained anything.
Yeah, it's like a great magic trick. The great magic trick is they show you something, I'm gonna make it disappear.
And well, he found that clipping that they'd been killed in a plane crash or whatever it was, and I'm like,
Yeah,
"No, dude, they're not dead. Like we know they're not dead. That was a cover up so they could go into hiding. But then that never happened either."
right. But that's what I'm saying. You're gonna set up all of these things. Like I said, if I show you something, I show you the coin in my hand, and I wave my hand around it, I make it disappear. Okay, and then I just walk away. Now, okay, what's the trick?
Right. You got to
No,
make
but
it reappear somewhere.
yeah, you gotta pull it out of the ear. You gotta get to the prestige. If you don't
Yeah.
get to the prestige, what is the point?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. I the parents thing lost me. Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy, kids. I'm sure you guys know. Uh, and the co-star here. My first thought was, why isn't she just MJ? I mean, Emma has red hair. Why is
Mm,
she wearing a blonde wig or dyeing her hair blonde? What are we doing?
yeah,
It's like the Kings of what was it? Gangs of New York, where was it DiCaprio had to do an English accent and Daniel Day Lewis had to do an American accent. Why didn't you just you know what I
exactly.
mean? Like why? It was kind of that thing. Like why didn't you just make her MJ? Like I don't know. I like her a lot, Phil, but I kind of bumped into that.
We had to do something different. The Sam
Sure.
Raimi films were built around his relationship with MJ.
Yeah.
Let's do something different this time around. Let's introduce Gwen. Let's do a different love story. It can't be the same. And I get that bit of it. But I agree. If you watch her in anything else like Easy A or Super Bad, she has red hair.
Yes.
And I mean, when you look at her, there's been other things she's in where it's like, oh yeah, that's your Mary Jane.
She's definitely Mary Jane, brother. For
And
sure.
I mean, I think she's adorable in this movie. I think
Yeah.
they have great chemistry together.
Yeah.
Andrew followed the tradition of Spider-Man leading men who ended up dating the leading woman,
Yes.
and their chemistry showed a lot in the movies. I think the great thing about their dynamic multiple times throughout the movie is he feels like a teenage guy that is awkward around a girl,
Mhm.
and every time he gets a chance, he's trying to like sneak affection and trying to get closer to her because yeah, he's a teenage boy. This is his first girlfriend. And all of that stuff felt natural.
Mhm.
I think all of their scenes together, they just have incredible chemistry. And I think that worked well in this movie and the second movie. I just wish sometimes they had better material to work with.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. He's way too pretty. He was awesome. But my Peter Parker needs to be not pretty. Like Tom Holland looks like he just stepped off the boat. Like he doesn't have a clue what's going on in the real world. And that's a benefit to him because
Yeah,
that he can play roles like that and people not go, "Pfft, who's this clown?" But
yeah,
Garfield's not he was great in these two movies. Well, this movie especially. Part 2, I ain't got a lot to say about part 2. But
yeah.
he was great in this movie, but dude, he is the reason why I wanted to honestly, why I wanted to do this review this, and plus we've never reviewed this film. He's
Mhm.
the reason I wanted to. He was kind of it.
Yes. I agree with you. I think Peter Parker should be unassuming
Yes.
because again, that's the story. Spider-Man, he's dynamic. He jumps off of a page.
Mhm.
It's one of the best character designs of all time. Um, but Peter Parker under that mask, he's supposed to be unassuming. You're not supposed to be able to pick that guy out in a crowd. Um, but Andrew Garfield's not that.
Right.
Uh, and it doesn't completely take me out of it. I think he's a better Spider-Man in some ways than Tobey is because of the reasons I said before, just like his build, like the banter and everything. But I don't think he's a very good Peter Parker. And I think that
Mm.
that showed in mostly the second movie. But there are bits of this movie where I was just like, this guy just does not feel like Peter Parker to me.
He didn't, but and I agree, he's a much better Spider-Man. But brother, let me tell you something. people tease Tobey, maybe not Tobey, but they tease the other Spider-Man films because Tobey could cry at the drop of a hat. Buddy, when Andrew Garfield cries, it rips your effing heart out, doesn't it? Dude, every time he cried, I really felt it, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's emotional bits in this movie that I think really hit, that
Yeah.
work really well.
Yeah.
Um, this movie came out 2012. You said?
Yes.
Um, I am going to try to get through this without getting very emotional. When my mother died,
Mhm.
I I used to call her voicemail all the time just to listen to it.
Mm.
And so just the note of him listening to the voicemail throughout the movie, and we don't hear the entire voicemail until the end of the movie. It hit me differently because um, that's a very real way that people grieve, and there's such a finality to somebody just being gone, especially if it's somebody you spent your entire life with, um, and just I just think it's one of those things you don't think about. Like, you just get up one day and you're not gonna hear their voice ever again. And
Yeah, it
so
sucks.
I think that was just such a great emotional beat throughout the movie, of him constantly listening to the voicemail. And like I said, when we finally do hear the voicemail, um, and what a great monologue from Martin Sheen of
Oh
him
man.
telling him, like, man, I know you've had it tough, and you know, but just ending it with a "Come home, Peter." Um, just so good, man.
Because
So well acted, so well executed.
yes, because we kind of assume he's going to be maybe lecturing him a bit, but then when you hear the full message, he's not lecturing him at all. It's great.
It's so good, and it fits so well with the end of the movie because, um, at the end of the movie, with everything he's gained, with the powers and everything, um, he's kind of alone in a lot of his decisions, and he's made decisions that cost his girlfriend, her father, and
Mm.
he's still saying everything that Peter needs to hear in that voicemail at the end of the movie, and that's what makes it so impactful.
Yeah, and as we know the Spider-Man story to be, and they really hammered it home in No Way Home, of course, which we have reviewed kids in the archives, of course, when all three Spider-Man were on hand. So we know how that movie goes. But one thing they always, they nailed home, and we always know as Spider-Man fans is that Uncle Ben is the emotional anchor for this kid. That he's the only father figure he's got, and when he passes, he carries around such guilt
Mm.
because in every incarnation of this, you can't say Phil he's 100% responsible, but he could have done something to stop the guy that murders Ben. So like
Yeah.
he's not only carrying around grief, he's carrying around this is my fault. And I found it interesting that there was never a moment where they could have anyone tell him, Peter, this is not your fault. Like other versions of Peter had that, but he didn't have that,
Yeah.
which I maybe that was missing for me somewhat.
Well, there's two beats that this is again where I feel like they set up so much, and it's supposed to mean something, and they're missing pieces to bring it all together.
Mhm.
Um, and again, I think it's to the detriment of trying to not do what Sam Raimi did. We get the clunky, um, we get the clunky lecture when he comes home, and he's trying so hard to not tell him with great power comes great responsibility. He
Yes,
says it in a roundabout way without saying it. And it was even more glaring to me that they were trying to not say it. Um,
sure.
and so we get that, and then we get the way that Ben dies, and this is why it's kind of important for him to catch up to the guy that shot Ben, so he can have that aha moment of, this is my fault. I let that guy get away when I should have stopped him from running out of the store, and it cost me my uncle. We
Mhm.
don't get that aha moment, even though we as the audience know, because he never finds the guy.
Right.
Now, maybe we're supposed to know based off of the police sketch that he understands that it's his fault because he let the guy go. But it never really clicks well in the movie. And because you set up the parent mystery, I hate that I have to keep going back to this and driving this point home, but because you've hammered this parent thing to the beginning of the movie, and Uncle Ben is so important to his story in this movie, you don't really drive home by the end of the movie how important Uncle Ben is to his moral compass. I don't think
Hmm.
because and I hate comparing it. Um, I don't like comparing it because it makes it seem like I'm undermining what is good about this movie by saying what's great about the Sam Raimi movies.
Hmm.
But you just cannot top the moment of him saying, "I had a father. His name was Ben Parker." You cannot
Yes.
top that, and I don't think that there was a good enough resolution to the stuff with him and Ben in this movie.
There wasn't. There wasn't a comeback. There was yeah, you're right. Ben was dead when he found him. I mean, that's in Toby's version, at least he knew he was there, and in his dying moments, he could hold his hand.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, the voicemail is great. I
Mhm.
think ending the movie with Ben's voice and still having that worked, but I don't think they did enough to really, fill in the blanks with that plot
Mm.
point.
Yeah, we didn't really get it hammered home just how incredibly important he was.
Boink Studios is the home of Tom Clark's Main Event, Tom Clark's 6M podcast, and Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. Visit the site today for links to every podcast platform, social media, special announcements, and a lot more. Check out the site and bookmark today, boinkstudios.com.
Let me ask you this, Sally Field as Aunt May. Do we get enough of their connection? Because I kind of felt like we didn't.
I don't think we got enough with her either. I think that was great casting. I thought Martin Sheen was great casting as Uncle Ben as well.
For sure.
I thought that Sally Field was great casting. I just don't think that we got enough of their dynamic in this movie. We got some more of it in the second movie. I wish we would have gotten more between her, especially after Ben was gone.
Yeah, because it just feels like he was killed and then Peter just disappeared. And we never went back to her until she's at the kitchen table when he came home and forgotten the eggs.
Yes, I was waiting for her to give him like something, like some words of advice, something.
Yeah.
But again, May in the Raimi movies was such a big part of his moral compass as well.
Yeah.
And I don't think you could. There are so many May speeches from those films that I don't think you could top that. And I don't think that they wanted to even try.
Rosemary Harris and Cliff Robertson. They're a tough duo to beat for Ben and May, man.
Yeah. Yeah, they're a big part of why I think Spider-Man 2 is one of the greatest comic book movies of all time is because
Yeah.
I immediately think they're the hero in all of us. And that speech is so great, man.
So great. Yeah, it's so great. Like, dude, they've got the pieces are here. They've got high caliber actors here. But the dialogue sometimes is so clunky. Like
Yes.
Reese Ifans as Kirk Connors. The
Oh
first
boy.
time we meet him, he says, "Oh, and in case you're wondering, I'm a southpaw." And they all feel compelled to giggle. And then he immediately says, "I'm not a cripple, I'm a scientist." And I'm like, why do that? Like you just poke fun at yourselves like, don't be making fun of me. I've never forgotten that line. It's such an awkward moment. Like in real life, I'd feel like I'm going to crawl out of my skin at any moment. This is so weird, man.
There were several bits of dialogue that are very awkward. Every time I think of like the first 20 minutes of the movie, I think Eugene.
Yes, put him down, Eugene. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some very bad dialogue in this movie. I think there's the other bit of this movie that did not help it at all. Lizard is not good.
No.
Like Lizard is a bad villain in this movie. His plan doesn't make sense.
Horrible. Makes no sense. And he looks terrible, doesn't he? Like in the face, he looks terrible.
His plan doesn't make sense. The design for the character is not great.
No.
I do think some of the fights with him are good. I think the fight in the school in particular is good. Um, but he's just not a good villain. I don't think he's a compelling villain at all.
No.
Yeah, again, I hate continuing to compare it to
Do it.
To the Sam Raimi films, but part of the problem here is for the first two Sam Raimi films, Kurt Connors was in both of those movies, so you already set him up as a background character, and so for three movies, we kept going. Well, we're gonna get the lizard because he's been here all this time, and we waited all that time for it. So to get another franchise that takes on a lizard and then to take on a lizard in such a bland and uninteresting way, it was just a letdown after all that time waiting for the lizard. And then we get him in a reboot, and then we don't even get like a great version of him.
No, this was not a great for. And Reese Ifans is a phenomenal actor. It's not on him. It's
Excellent
just
actor.
right. Like, but this wasn't the right part. I don't think it was the right fit.
Material was just not good.
No.
I think if you had given him more, this would have worked. But again, this is what I said before. Of there were certain things that they spent way too much time on, and then by the time we get to the stuff with him and Kurt Connors, they rush through it. Like he meets Kurt, develops a relationship with him, and then it immediately goes south. Like immediately, you set up him giving him the formula. He uses it to become the lizard, and then we're rushing into the third act of the movie.
And by the way, did you understand why he hated Peter so much? Because I had a hard time understanding. Is it just the lizard DNA making him nuts and mad and mean? Or because I was like, why do you hate this kid? What is it? He helped you. Why do you hate him? It's so weird, man.
So I don't think that it was that he hated him. So you set it again. You set the parent dynamic up because, of course, Kurt was friends with his dad.
Yes.
He's in the picture with his dad early in the movie. So you set up the reasoning why Peter wants to meet Kurt Connors and why Kurt wants to have some affinity to Peter. Because there's other fantastic dynamic for Peter in the comics in several medias. Because his father is not there, he picks up all of these different surrogate fathers, and he picks up all of these like father figures throughout his life. And so you have a guy in Kurt that feels bad for him, that wants to be there for him. But I don't think you spend enough time with that dynamic to build that up, so it doesn't feel as tragic when he becomes the lizard. So you don't have any of the pathos there. And then you have this terrible line when he does turn the lizard. Poor Peter Parker, no uncle, no father, nobody. You're alone.
Dude, that line is like, Peter should have gone, okay, that's a little uncalled for, isn't it? Like, where'd that come? That's a little hurtful. You don't have to do that, you know?
Which sets up Captain Stacy to come in and then, spoiler alert, die.
Of course. Well, he's got me, pal. He's got his gun and everything. All
He's
right.
got me with my gun. I came up here totally alone with this shotgun.
Yes.
Yeah.
With my friggin' shotgun. I got this, big lizard dude. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think it's that he hates him. I think it's that once he takes the lizard serum, he's not thinking straight.
That's
And
yeah.
It's warped his brain. He only sees it as Spider-Man is in his way, and then once he finds out that Peter is Spider-Man, Peter is in my way.
Yeah, that whole bit. And the scene where they are fighting, I think it's in that, is it walkway or something? The CG is not good. It's really rough, the CG right there. More so for the lizard than Spider-Man, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I actually like the stuff in the school. The fights are good. I think the way that he fights him, like the way he's crawling all over him and webbing him up, the Stan Lee cameo.
Oh, it's great.
It's fantastic. All that fight stuff is good. But there's certain stuff in there that doesn't look great. Like when the part where his tail gets ripped off and it starts coming back doesn't look great. He's got like the fake tail on him that's like wiggling around on top of him. It looks weird. Yeah.
Should that have been a practical costume, real world costume, you think, or would that have helped?
I think the CGI would have been fine if the design was better. I think the lizard looked like his face and everything, it looked too human. He needed like a snout.
He did look too human.
like he kind of looked like the Goomba from like the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Mm.
Didn't look good.
Yeah, I was thinking that old sitcom Dinosaurs, where they're all the puppets. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, the way he finds out Peter Spider-Man is also very funny as well.
Yeah.
He finds his camera with property Peter Parker
God.
on it.
And it's done in that old school. I don't know what to call it. I grew up with that stuff. The old school, like the gun where you click, 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 and you put the letters in and everything. Yeah. Well, yeah. And you know what's funny is that like the minute he put the glasses on, Ben's like, "You look just like your father." But this guy's like, "I don't know this kid. Who's this kid talking to me?" Like, all right,
Yeah,
well,
there were some very strange editing choices, like I said, and they did do this several times. I don't want to pick on too much of like the early parts, but like the basketball scene is god awful.
terrible.
The basketball scene with him and Flash is god awful.
Yeah.
It, I don't know why he couldn't just get into a fight with Flash, but having this goofy basketball scene be the thing that got him in trouble, that gets sent to the office, and then Ben gives him this lecture. Oh, you humiliated that kid, huh? And that's why you're so satisfied with yourself. Hey, that would have worked much better if he just picked a fight with him.
Yeah, because the guy's a douche. And
Yeah.
I'm like, if I'm Peter, I'm like, yeah, it felt great. He had it coming. And I'm glad he said look, I was on his side. I'm like, he did have it coming. You don't know this kid. He's horrible to me. He's horrible to everybody here.
Yeah. But it should have been he picked the fight to go, hey, you felt like you could finish that fight. I bet you did. But just because you could doesn't mean you should have.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But and I mean, it's just more ways you could have done that to have him humiliate Flash instead of the stupid basketball scene where he shatters the backboard. It was so goofy. Um, and he does a few of those goofy feats of strength like gags that are not very funny. I think the only time that it was funny was when he woke up and he smashes the alarm. I thought that was hilarious. Um,
It happens so fast. It's kind of awkward.
yeah, but again, that's where I was getting to with the edits and how it would go from like 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 very serious tone to this very goofy
Mm-hmm.
tone in like a matter of seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Like the time that I think it was very strange. It's like when he's bantering the guy, the car thief, which him sitting in the car and bantering him, and he keeps using the web to close the door. Hilarious. Even
Great.
when he's talking to him outside of the car and he's webbing him up, perfect. But after he webs them all up, the camera gets real close and he like does this like thing where he leans into the camera and shows the mask. Then he like dives at him like Jim Carrey or something and goes,
Yes.
"Let me ask you something." I was like, what a weird edit. Why do that?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. That was odd. I totally agree. And I'm thinking, well, this scene's going to lead to something. That scene didn't lead to anything. Like nothing became of it, right? Nothing big became of that scene. Like, why did we even? You just wanted to have him talking. Like, he is the best Spider-Man in terms of the trash talking. He absolutely nailed it. Like, he sounds like the Spider-Man we grew up with. He's a smart. He's a smart mouth punk. Like that's what Spider-Man should be. But then I'm like, well, I wonder if this is the guy. Nah, it's not the guy. But maybe he knows the guy. Maybe he's got the same tat. People go, where'd you get this tat? But it didn't go anywhere after that.
No, it's more of them going in this direction with this mystery of him looking for the guy that shot Uncle Ben
Mhm.
that gets completely sidetracked and has no resolution.
What did you think of the spider bite? That whole sequence was it overdone, over the top?
I thought it was weird that he had to like pluck the spider out of his neck.
Yes.
Um, yeah, that was for a movie that tried to be very grounded. I didn't understand that because the spider would just bite him and fall off.
Yes.
Why would it then latch onto his neck like a tick? That was kind of weird.
And plus, when I saw that, the first time I saw this movie, I'm like, oh God, they're going to do organic webbing again.
Yeah, I was very glad we got web shooters. I thought it was
For
really
sure.
cool to see Peter build the web shooters.
Yep.
This is the only movie we've gotten that in because we don't really even get to see that in the MCU ones. We get web shooters in MCU movies. We know that Tom's version built his web shooters, but Andrew's the only guy that we got to actually see him build the web shooters. And
Yes.
so I thought that was cool. And I mean, even the stuff with like the pseudoscience and stuff we get in this movie with Peter is great. But there's there was other things like that I wish we got more of.
Well, it just, to your point earlier, there there are beats here that just don't align. You know,
Mhm.
they don't line up. Like the comic beats don't line up with everything else. One of my favorite bits is after the subway scene, which is weird. They felt the need to take the
Very
woman's
weird.
top off. I don't know why we felt the need to do that, but okay. But like he gets back, he's got that plate of meatloaf, and it's like he's high. Like the
Yeah.
stuff's pumping through him. He doesn't know what's happening to him. He's like, "This is your meatloaf. This beats all of the meatloaves." And like he's about to cry. He's so happy because the meatloaf is so delicious. I'm like, this kid's high as a kite, man. Like that bit. And when he's carrying the food and the cup almost falls, he goes, "I got it. I got it."
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no way that was planned. And he just must have ad-libbed that. Dude, that's funny. That's so funny. But then you'll have 30 moments of there being nothing and then comedy again. I'm like, nothing's working, nothing's flowing the way it should be, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Um, yeah, that's why some of the gags feel so out of place. Like when he's talking to Gwen, and again, this is another one of those edits where I was like, why'd they do that? He's talking to Gwen and he catches the football without seeing it coming, and then
Oh,
he bangs it against the he bangs it against the uprights and bends it, and everybody's just kind of looking at him. Cut to another scene. It was just like, okay, very abrupt cut. All right.
so weird.
I don't. I again. I think those kind of gags with him, smashing things because he can't control his powers. Those did not work well. I think it only worked well when he woke up and smashed the alarm and the bathroom scene.
Mm.
The scene in the subway, awful. When
Yeah.
he's laying there and the guy for some reason sits the bottle on his forehead, and it's not that the bottle is on his forehead that alerts him that they're there. It's the drop of condensation from the bottle.
I'm like, what is he, Daredevil? His other sensors are heightened. Why is this such a big deal? You know?
But his sense of his super senses, like him being hypersensitive to this drop of condensation, was the thing that immediately made him jump to his feet. Not this cold bottle. Sitting on
Right,
his
exactly.
forehead.
Yeah. Oh my God. You know that kitchen scene, he sent him to the stairs and Sally Field brought it home. She's like, he took the box of frozen macaroni and cheese. And Martin Sheen's like, I noticed that. They play it so straight. Like it just felt like Sam Raimi's movies had those moments,
Mhm.
but then it's the story, right? It's the dialogue. It's how everything flows. There was no flow here. Like,
It just felt like a lot of things were happening that
yes,
didn't connect well together.
that's it. No connectivity. Yeah, for sure. And I don't mind the change. The bit with the spiders and the spider bite was weird. There's so many spiders around this kid. If they'd all bitten him, he would have died. Like there's just way too many. But it's fine, whatever. But like I'm with you. Why did they feel the need to latch this thing just to prove to you how serious this was? Like I got it, but like it kind of felt like he became Spider-Man pretty darn quick. And maybe that's just me, but like to your point, 40 minutes before we see him in the suit. But then once it's almost like, oh my God, we got to get him in the suit. We've spent 40 minutes. I'm like, yeah, you did. You could have done this 20 minutes ago, man.
Yeah. I was fine with the vigilante stuff that led up to him figuring out he needs a suit. Like him going out and attacking the one guy, and then you can hear the guy in the background saying, I know what you look like, I know your face, and that's the aha moment for him to go, I need to wear a mask.
Mm-hmm.
And you see all the other things that happen with him learning how to web sling and everything, and with every new thing he's doing, being driven to find this guy. It's like, okay, I have to keep adding to my arsenal out of necessity. But that's what makes it even more glaring that he never finds the guy. Um,
Never finds the
At
guy.
one point, he is completely driven by this need to find the guy. Just like at one point, he's driven by this need to figure out what happened to his parents.
Mhm.
And that's why I'm like, though, dropping those things so early, it just, I don't know, it just harmed the movie to me. Um, but I didn't have a problem with that. I didn't have a problem with how we got to him figuring out his powers and everything. I think the skateboarding scene with him swinging with the chains was kind of weird. But
Mm.
yeah,
It
that
felt
was
like Footloose with Kevin Bacon. I thought he was gonna start dancing.
with the music and the montage. Yeah, I thought
Yes.
that was strange. But I think the web slinging in this movie is fantastic.
Really
Um,
good.
the web slinging at 2 points in particular are really good. When the crane operators are pulling all the cranes around so he can swing down and get to the Oscorp building, looks really the web slinging in that scene looks really good. The web slinging in the final scene of the movie is also excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And just the way they get to the end of it, of him swinging around and turning straight at the camera and getting ready to shoot a web out, awesome.
Oh, for sure. And by the way, we both need to be corrected here. Do you know when he first puts the suit on and we see him in the actual suit? 55 minutes.
55 minutes. This is another weird editing choice they do. They do this first person web slinging thing where he lands on the glass, um, and he sees himself in a suit, and then it just cuts to him on a building walking around with the suit on, answering the phone.
Yeah, that's their big reveal.
But I mean, the reveal doesn't. It's not like the reveal goes to anything interesting. The next
No.
thing it cuts to is him just like randomly walking on a building, answering the phone.
Yes. And by the way, I love Spider-Man, but I know you're like true blue Spider-Man guy. The suit. What's your take on the suit?
I don't like it.
No, really? What doesn't work?
It is my least favorite movie adaptation suit, and I think part of it is because the bar is so high. Um,
Mm.
the Raimi films, the suit isn't perfect, but it looks good visually. It looks dynamic in all of the movie posters. It looks great in all the action scenes. Um, and the suit is so perfect in the second movie. Like it's so good that when you look at this suit in comparison to that suit, it doesn't look nearly as good. Now, I think the thing that works about it is it does look like a homemade suit. And I think that's the thing it has over the Raimi film is it doesn't have the production value behind it that it looks like an actual teenager could have sewn it in a bedroom.
Mm. Yeah, I'm back and forth on the suit. I mean, the eyes have that Alex Ross design,
Mhm.
the smaller dark eyes. Because for the second movie, didn't they go with the big white eyes for the suit? Because I can't seem to
Yes.
remember. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yes. The only thing I think the second movie was missing was, that the eyes actually moved.
That's true. By the way, we kicked the show off talking about the new one. Have you seen the stills and everything of
It's
the new suit?
it's perfect. I think it's
Yeah.
the best movie adaptation we've gotten so far.
And
Um,
dude, it's got raised webbing like Tobey, and people are like going, "Uh-oh, I wonder if that means something." You think that means anything?
I don't know. I mean, it looks very close to the suit he has on at the end of No Way Home, which I
Mhm.
absolutely love.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, good suit.
but yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the suit in this movie. Um, like I said, I think it looks homemade. I think that's the best thing about it. Um, I like the design for the web shooters,
Hmm.
but yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the suit as a whole. I think, like I said, the suit in the second movie is so much better.
I I think the web suiters are great. The web shooters are great. However, it's an interesting design choice to make them light up every time he uses them because if you're a villain, you're going to pick up on that pretty quick, and you're going to know how to incapacitate him where he can't spin webs anymore.
Yeah. Um, well, I specifically like them. There was a museum exhibit here at the Museum of Science of Industry with a bunch of like props from Spider-Man, big, huge Spider-Man exhibit.
Wow.
Um, and so they have the web shooters from this movie there.
Nice.
And I like that it's built like an actual watch. It looks practical. It looks like something that Peter Parker could wear under his sleeve, and it looks unassuming. Like your normal person wouldn't look at it like it's this high tech device. It just looks like a leather band with like a watch face on the inside.
Mm.
And I like that the inside of it is digitized, so he can look down at it and see like how much web fluid is left. When do I need to replace a cartridge? I like the look of it when he does replace the cartridges and it reloads. I like the sound effect of it. Like it like almost sounds like a small gun firing when he's shooting it.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I like the web shooters a lot. But yeah, the suit as a whole, I think it could have been better.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that work here, but there's a lot of things that don't work together. I think is my biggest statement on this movie. A lot of things work, but a lot of things don't actually work together, and maybe they could have. What did you think about Dennis Leary as Captain Stacy?
I thought he was great, but I think that we didn't get enough time with him.
Yeah.
The reason Captain Stacy's death in the comic hit so hard is because we spent more time with the character and it felt like such a tragic event.
Hmm.
And this is right in line with what I mean, that they spent so much time on things early in the movie that ended up being inconsequential by the end. And the stuff that I wanted them to spend more time on and give more weight, it went by way too fast. And I think the introduction of Captain Stacy, and his eventual death, it just went too quick. So it didn't have the weight that it should have.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Dennis Leary at any given time is a better actor than probably people give him credit for. But
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know that he's wrong for this, but yeah, something about it was. I think you're right. I just don't think we had enough time with him, and the fact that Peter kind of took a run at him at the dinner table. You have the luxury, you have the benefit of knowing that you are Spider-Man and that your intentions are good. You're well intentioned.
Mhm.
This cop doesn't know that. So the fact that you took a run at him at his dinner table in his own home is kind of dumb, don't you think? Like it kind of reeked of, I won't say arrogance, but the Tobey Maguire Peter, I don't think would have done that.
It's part of what I feel doesn't work with Peter in both movies.
Hmm.
They're trying to set up this like bad boy
Mm.
boyfriend thing with him and Gwen, and it's part of the whole stay away from her by the end of the movie stuff that doesn't work as well. Because again, we just don't have enough time to build up the pathos and everything that makes this so tragic. Um, I think that dinner scene is just like, oh, yeah, of course. My daughter invited this, bad boy that is arguing with me at the dinner table that I don't like. It's
Yeah.
like, I just don't think that works with Peter Parker.
I
Because it's
agree.
different if Peter is having a philosophical debate with him and they're just having a disagreement. But that's not how it comes off.
That's it exactly. Yeah, it's not how it came off. Again, you have the benefit of knowing you're well intentioned, but this guy doesn't know that. So you're not on an even playing field. You have the upper hand and you don't need to argue with him. You could just let him have his say. It's his table. He's the cop. You're the guest. You shouldn't have an opinion. I don't know. That's kind of how it felt to me. It felt very un-Peter Parker like.
Yeah. The Branzino thing as well.
Yeah.
They kept emphasizing that word and just the weirdness of the scenario that there's like a whole fish sitting in front of him. Yeah.
Right. Very odd. What about Irfan Khan as Rajit Ratha? Tom Clark's 6M podcast is sponsored in part by Radius Law Group. Every day, Radius helps individuals, families, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations throughout North Carolina, Florida, and Pennsylvania resolve their legal issues by providing effective legal counsel in the areas of estate planning, as well as elder law and Medicaid. Radius Law holds the radical belief that working with a lawyer can indeed be enjoyable. So give them a call at 1-800-519-5667 for more information and tell them that Tom Clark's 6M podcast sent you. They made the interesting choice here, Phil. Again, we can't be the Sam Raimi trilogy. You're going to talk about Norman Osborn, but you're never going to show him.
Yes.
Why even do it, Phil? Why even have that here? I mean, it feels like it didn't fit, man. I mean, was it just a device for Connors and the formula and all that stuff? Is that the only reason they did that here?
I think that they were trying to spread breadcrumbs throughout each movie to get us from point A to point B because they're thinking they're going to get this big franchise. So you got to set up Oscorp as this big corporate entity that links all these things together. This is eventually going to be not just the origin of Spider-Man coming out of Oscorp, but this is where all of the Sinister Six are going to come from. And then you set up his biggest villain, Norman, as the head of this thing. And even the stuff with Harry in the second movie. But I think for that to work, it's the same thing I said before early on. You got to give the audience the stinger to get them on the hook. Because we already know who Norman is based off of the first franchise, based off of any iteration of this character in any other adaptation, whether it be cartoon or whatever else. We know who Norman Osborn is. It's just like when you go and see Batman Begins, you know who the Joker is. The second they show you that card, you know who he is. You know where this is going. We don't get anything interesting on that level as that cliffhanger from Batman Begins with Norman. And I think that's the problem. You set up Oscorp as this big looming entity over this entire movie, but you never give us anything with Norman that's even remotely as interesting.
And by the way, speaking of the whole Norman Osborn thing, who's the guy in the shadows at the end? In the prison cell with Connors? Who is that?
Did they ever explain that?
I don't think they ever did. Talk about stuff that goes nowhere. Like
is he the handler guy from early in the movie?
No, because he's in shadows. Why not just show him?
That's right.
Because the guy we were talking about, let me find him again. Irfan Khan. By the way, I didn't know this. I'm sure you recognize this actor from other things, but we lost him in 2020 to cancer, unfortunately. So rest in peace to him. He was actually like one of the most well-known and respected actors of like Indian cinema, known around the world, this guy.
Wow.
And buddy, when he popped up, you know what my first thought was? My first thought was, he shouldn't be in this movie. Because when he came on the screen, dude, I no kidding, I immediately felt like this just got real. This is a stone cold dangerous SOB. Like that.
Yeah.
The weight he carries, and I'm like, I love it, but it kind of feels too heavy right here. Yeah. It kind of feels like he should have been a hired assassin in another film, but it kind of felt like, I don't know why he's here, man.
Yeah, I felt like he was. I mean, I think throughout this movie, it was very well cast, but I don't think that the actors that they had here had the material to really make this movie feel as big as it could have.
Yeah,
I think this guy is prime example of that, because you're right. The second we see him on film, he steps into a scene and it's like, wait, who's this guy?
Yes.
And again, we don't ever get a real explanation other than he's just kind of like the handler for Norman. The shadowy guy, if I remember correctly, doesn't he show up at the end of Spider-Man 2 where he's walking in that room with all the other stuff? Like you could see like the Doc Ock arms on the wall. We could see like the vulture wings, and he walks past all of that stuff, right?
I've done all I could to forget part 2.
Yeah.
Because Jamie Foxx is a great actor. That was not what we saw in part 2 of that franchise.
I will say as well, along with the things I like about this movie, the web slinging is it's very good, but the score of this movie is also very, very good. I really love the score, and so much so, one of the prevailing things from Amazing Spider-Man 2 that pops up on the Twitter timeline all the time is the beginning of Amazing Spider-Man 2, where he's falling out of the sky and the score starts, and it's so good. It kicks in with him swinging, and he stops that bank robbery. It's excellent.
Yeah. Oh, dude, for sure. This the guy that composed the score, James Horner, actually passed away 3 years after this movie came out.
Oh wow.
Yeah, dude, he was a private plane, the only person on board, and it was just a uh, tragic crash, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had played with the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra. Yeah, he did the scores for Star Trek 2 and Star Trek 3. Yeah, dude, he's got a nice little body of work here, it looks like.
He did the score for the J.J. Abrams movies.
No, this Wrath of Khan and Search for Spock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the score here. Yeah, I think that the shadowy figure thing as well. That's another mystery that was set up that was never really paid off well in this movie or in the second movie for that matter.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. There are things that I really like about this movie, man. Like I said, I wanted to like it. I did. I just didn't. And I'm also old enough to remember when this movie came out, and I was still on message boards when this movie came out. And that's how I know that there was a crowd that hated the Raimi movies that wanted to like this movie. So if it was anywhere different enough for them, they were gonna love it. And so I know a lot of people that really like this movie. They think this is like the definitive Spider-Man movie. And maybe part of this is because I like the Raimi movies and I thought that it struck the right tone. And we talked about this a little bit. We talked about the last Superman movie.
Hmm.
Um, there's going to be adaptations that you just don't really jive with,
Sure.
and sometimes you get that adaptation that works for you, and then there's another one that doesn't work. And the great thing about it is, eventually it'll cycle back around, and you'll find something you do like.
That's it.
Um,
Yeah.
And so it isn't the end of the world that I didn't like this because I think we've been spoiled with an embarrassment of riches as Spider-Man fans. We've gotten so many great video games. We've gotten 2 all-time great animated series, I think, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know. And I feel bad for Andrew Garfield. I'm glad that he got his last hurrah.
Hmm.
He got to come back in No Way Home. Because he is a good actor. He did play Spider-Man well in this film. I just wish he was in better movies.
Yeah, and let me ask you this: when that movie came out, and again, it's in the archives, kids. That No Way Home film. Everybody and their brother started speculating on should they give Toby another movie? Then it became, well, they should give Andrew another movie. Andrew Garfield is 41 now. Would it make any sense at all to have him pop up? Because the multiverse thing did a bang up job, Phil, in explaining this and Toby and everything else. Bang up job. But like, is there a world in which we see him again as Spider-Man?
Maybe in like a multiverse thing for the MCU, but this idea that we should get Amazing Spider-Man 3, no.
He's 41, dude. At that point, he should be passing the torch, or it should be he comes out of retirement or something. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, this is how quite quickly the internet moves on from things.
Right? Because no one's talked about it forever.
Nobody's talked about it forever, but I remember initially how people when Amazing Spider-Man movies didn't do well and MCU got the rights to be able to use Spider-Man again. There were a lot of fans online that didn't want them to use Peter Parker. They wanted them to immediately start making Miles Morales movies.
Mm-hmm.
And my argument at the time was always, guys, Marvel Studios did not wait over a decade to get their flagship character back and not use him.
Yeah, it's fair.
They're going to use Peter Parker. They've waited all this time to be able to use Peter Parker in their movies. They're not going to skip past Peter and make some Miles movies. As much as I love Miles Morales, it just didn't make sense for them to do that at the time. Now we've jumped from they should do Miles Morales movies to, hey, I liked Andrew Garfield. Can we get a third Amazing Spider-Man movie? no, we're going to get more of this universe's Peter Parker, and we're
Yes.
eventually going to get Miles Morales.
Yes. And supposedly the Spider-Verse people have told Feige, this is the scuttlebutt, right? You probably know this, that hands off Miles Morales until we finish this final film for
Which
the
makes
trilogy.
sense. They should be able to tell their story first.
Yes,
before
and they're
we get a
going to.
live action Miles, because we're going to get a live action Miles. It's inevitable.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see the suit. You know what I mean? I think it'll be
Yeah.
great. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. To answer our question, the Man in the Shadows, the actor was Michael Massey,
Uh-huh.
who had previously worked with Marvel as Dr. Bruce Banner in the Ultimate Avengers animated film series. And as to the man's identity, director Marc Webb, that's Webb with two B's, kids. Weird how that worked. He said it's intentionally mysterious, and I invite speculation. In The Amazing Spider-Man 2, the character was revealed to be Gustav Fiers, Michael Papajohn, who played Dennis Carradine, Uncle Ben's apparent killer in the 2002 film, has a cameo as Alfred, Dr. Ratha's limo driver, thus being the only actor aside from Stan Lee of the Sam Raimi films to play a role in the reboot film. Papa John originally asked to reprise the role as the robber, but the part was given to Gantvort, I guess is the actor who played the robber. Interesting. So yeah, again, we don't have any idea what was going to happen. He goes, I invite speculation. Well, brother, you got it.
Ooh, mysteries and speculation. A lot of
Yes.
mysteries in this movie that we didn't get a actual conclusion to.
Yeah, you invited a lot. Leif Gantfort he played the burglar. That's who that actor was. Leif Gantfort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the crazy thing about that is you set up all of these things and you set up more breadcrumbs in the second movie. But now you had two movies at this point and you didn't give us enough developments out of any of these things.
Yeah. I got something for you. Chris Zilka, who played Flash. We didn't get to see this Flash too much. We just know he's a douchebag.
Mhm.
When Peter puts him up against the lockers and lifts him off the ground, nobody went, hey man, how are you that strong? But it's fine. When Flash looks at him and says, feels better, doesn't it? I'm like, this kid has been beat as a child. He's been bullied. His dad's probably an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Brother, that one line, I'm like, ooh, I want to know more about this Flash now. Do you know what I'm saying? It was such a misplaced, oddly timed line, but it was awesome. And I'm like, now I want to learn about this kid, dude.
Yes. He's the best Flash we've gotten in live action.
You think? Oh, interesting.
He is.
Yeah.
The Flash we get in the Raimi movies is basically one and done.
Mhm.
A guy went on to almost have a role as Deathstroke
Yes.
in the DCU movies. That did not happen. And he looked great in the suit and everything. But yeah, that Flash wasn't really Flash. It was just kind of like bully in the first movie to get us from point A to B. This Flash actually has a dynamic with Peter Parker, and I thought that the way they played it out throughout the movie was good. And again, this is a common theme. I just wish they spent more time on that stuff and less time on some of the stuff that they did spend time on in the beginning of the movie. Because I think the thing that works well specifically with the MCU movies is they did such a great job of building up his friend group and his supporting cast in his school.
Mhm.
Like his life in high school is such a big part of those three movies, and his friend group and everything from high school. It all feels like a real high school.
Hmm.
And I wish they had done more with Peter in high school here before they moved on in the second movie.
Yeah, they really moved on quick. Joe Manganiello is the hunky Flash from the Raimi movies, by the way.
Yeah, that's the guy we get the great scene of Peter Parker ducking and dodging all of his punches to set up him getting punched once and getting the lunch tray dropped on his face.
Yes.
Which, like I said, that's not really Flash. Flash here is closer to Flash in the comics.
I agree with that.
Because he has a relationship with Peter. He picks on him. He beats up on him early in the movie because he feels like he has to make a point. Um, he goes to Gwen's house to help him with his schoolwork, and even though he picks on him because he has a relationship with him, and when he's like legitimate, it's like saying, "Hey Parker," because he found out that Ben passed away. That's such a great moment. And again, it's just there's not enough of that with him.
Yeah.
And even when we see him later, because of course in the comics and in most iterations, Flash is a big Spider-Man fan. He's wearing a
Yeah.
Spider-Man shirt towards the end of the movie, and he says, "Great shirt," and he's like, "Yeah, man, he's crazy. Dig him." And so again, there's so much there that they did with a little bit with Flash, and I
Yeah.
came away really liking it, and I wish they had done more.
Yeah. Ben's death changed the dynamic between these two the day after it happened. You can just tell, like, this kid, yeah, he's a douchebag, but like there's a reason he's a douchebag. Most kids don't come out of the womb like that. Like there's a reason he is the way he is, but we never got to find out.
Yeah, it'd have been nice to keep that guy going if this turned into a franchise.
Yeah.
And at that time period where they introduced Asian uh, Venom and Flash ends up being Asian Venom, you could have set up
Mm.
so much more going with this guy. And then we really never see him again
Yeah, that's true.
because he
Yeah.
does nothing in the second movie.
Yeah. Well, we've also got let's see, Campbell Scott as Richard Parker. Beth Davids is Mary Parker. And let's see, Hannah Marks is Missy Callenbach, a girl who has a crush on Peter. Well, I don't know that she has a crush on Peter. C. Thomas Howell, out of the blue from the Brat Pack, right? Out of the blue, has a great part. Is it too on the nose? Yeah, it's way too on the nose. Come on now, let's do this Crane thing. Come on, like it's a little too on the nose. But Hal's such a good actor, man. Like I actually really liked it. Yeah, it's over the top, but I really liked it, man. What'd you think about the whole Crane bit?
I mean, we've seen the whole New Yorker stand up for Peter Parker thing because he's an everyman.
Yes.
He's the guy that stands up for the little guy, and the little guy appreciates that. So I like that we got more of that here. I like that we got a nod to that with the Crane scene. Um, it was a bit hokey, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the woman that played Mary Parker, the little bit we got at the beginning where she's explaining like, he likes to sleep with the light on, and like she's getting choked up because she has to leave him. I thought she did great acting in that scene.
She did. Yeah, she totally did. As we said, there are moments here. I think this was a valiant effort to get Spider-Man, but I just think you definitely got the right actor. However, having said that,
Yeah,
you're right. Like
the script,
it's hard.
the
It's
script for
hard.
this movie is not good.
Yeah, it's hard to put into words because Garfield. If anybody hasn't seen this, we just ruined it all for you. The reason to watch this movie is Andrew Garfield because
Yeah,
even though there's moments where it's like, yeah, that's not Peter, it kind of doesn't matter. Like if you want it to matter, it will, and you'll ruin it for you. But if you just watch it for the sake of saying, I got some popcorn, I'm gonna watch this movie, I'm chill, I'm good, you'll be fine because he's
yeah,
so good. But
yeah.
like,
Yeah, I think he really, really tries
yes,
to elevate this movie. Um, Unfortunately, and it's so sad to listen to him like before No Way Home, and he was doing interviews about the franchise and not getting the third movie, and you can tell he was so devastated that it didn't work out.
yeah,
And that's why another reason why I was so happy that he got to come back and play the role again. Um, because like I said, it was really no fault of his own that this didn't work. And I think as a leading man, he's proven multiple times that he's a great actor.
yeah,
And with a better script, this could have worked. And I think it's partially Sony's fault because Sony, as we've seen with other things, with the Spider-Man properties, they've rushed things out um, because they immediately want to jump on the money. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I get it. The Raimi films made a lot of money.
mm-hmm.
Um, a big part of the reason why we got the comic book boom was those films and the X-Men films because they made so much money.
Mm-hmm.
And so Sony's looking at it like, all right, we got to reboot. We got to reboot. We got to keep this money train going.
Yeah.
And I think they really rushed out the Amazing Spider-Man films. I think that's part of why they didn't work. I think that's part of why the script wasn't great. I think that's part of why a lot of the world building that they attempted to do here felt so unfinished because it's like it was a lot of uh it was a lot of let's get here without building up enough to get there first. It's like, well,
Yeah.
we know we want to do this big franchise. We want to get all these spin-offs. We want to get all these villain movies. So let's put our pieces on the board. But I just don't think the execution was there.
No, not enough world building. There's not enough. Breadcrumbs are great, but they got to go somewhere, and you got to
Yeah.
spend time with the breadcrumbs. You can't just drop them and make us all try to forget about them. Like, you got to go somewhere with it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think all the breadcrumbs, even if you're gonna give us a slow burn to all of these things being set up, the developments we get have to be interesting enough for us to want to keep coming back.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. By the way, Emma Stone is naturally blonde. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Man,
I mean, she looks the part here.
sure.
Like the movies like that I mentioned earlier, like Superbad and Easy A, she's a redhead, and
Yeah.
you just think right away like this could have been Mary Jane. But I think she was great as Gwen Stacy. Yeah. I just
What was it he says when Larry says, well, I think someone last week said that they wanted to live in a chocolate castle or something. It's just like, well, that's impractical. Like, that was a really good line.
Yeah. the the stuff between them at Oscorp. There was another one of those scenes that I bumped into right away. I'm like, okay, you want me to believe that this is this big, massive corporation, and you're gonna tell me this kid can come to the front desk and could pick up a pass and go, yep, that's mine. I'm intern, and he doesn't have to show any ID.
No ID. No ID. That's wonderful.
He doesn't have to show any ID. He's just like, yep, that's me.
Yep.
That's my pass right there.
Yeah. And it's,
Gwen-
again, weird
Gwen
stuff.
is the only person that looks at him because she knows him and is looking down a list like, wait a minute, you're not on this list.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, lots of weird stuff. But kids, if you're a fan of Gwen Stacy, part 2 might be tough for you.
What you think of her getting ready to walk away when they're having the awkward interaction on the rooftop, and then he webs her and like spins her around and goes in for the first kiss?
Peter Parker that we grew up with, and you're younger than me, but you grew up with a very similar to the original. But like our Peter Parker would never have the balls to do that. Like, no chance. Like, it would have took him forever to work up the courage to just hold her hand, for goodness sake. But when you're this Parker, you're very pretty. And when you're this pretty, that stuff works, Phil. It works.
He's such a bad boy. He like spins her around with the web, and then he goes in to kiss her, and she's like getting ready to talk about the fact that he basically revealed his secret identity to her. And he's just like, "No, shut up." It's like,
Yeah.
but all right,
don't be telling nobody. Goes to kiss her, and she's like, "Excuse me, we're not quite there yet." You know what I mean? That would have been fun. Because Peter should look like Leonard from The Big Bang Theory. I don't know if he should look like Andrew Garfield, big hunky Andrew Garfield, but
he should have a charm to him, of course. And
sure.
But yeah, that whole scene was a bit much.
It was a bit much. Yeah, it's just another example of again the bad boy thing, which that's a good call. That's something the movie's dark too, isn't it? The way it's shot, it's very. When I say dark, I mean literally dark. A lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
The colors of the film, it feels very like, hey guys, this is an edgy Spider-Man. I'm like, you can do an edgy Spider-Man, but y'all didn't do an edgy Spider-Man. You just threw a whole bunch of stuff in a movie and nothing flowed together,
It was a lot of telling us how dark this is with, look, it's taking place at night, and
Mm-hmm.
we're doing things that give you the perception of darkness, and it's grounded. But I think you could have told like a really dark Spider-Man story, because there are very dark Spider-Man stories in the
Oh
comic,
man, big
and
time.
you could have done it well. But I think that this movie tonally sometimes just doesn't feel like it knows what it wants to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. You know, it's Phil. What was the biggest? Did this thing start off behind the eight ball because it was released 5 years after Raimi's last Spider-Man film? Was it already behind the eight ball?
I think so. I think that it was a lot to try to live up to that trilogy.
Mm,
Um, but I think at the time as well, this was 2012, and you're using a lot of buzzwords that were coming around a lot of other comic book movies, like
mm,
dark, gritty,
yeah.
grounded, and it was just like, oh, here we go. Uh, my unpopular opinion. I know this is an unpopular opinion before I even say it. I sometimes feel like Dark Knight had the wrong impact on comic book movies.
Mm.
Dark Knight is a great movie,
Uh,
but I feel like Dark Knight pleased a lot of people that are embarrassed by comic book movies.
Interesting.
And I think coming out of that, you got a lot of people that felt like we need to make movies that shy away from being colorful and bright. And I'm so glad that we've drifted further and further away from that time period.
Yeah, because it's becoming okay again for it to be fun. Comic movies should always be fun.
They can be, and I think there's a way to do dark things and
Sure.
still tell stories in an interesting way without feeling like you have to, again, give us the buzzwords or go, look, it's different, it's darker this time.
Right.
And it's like, no, you don't have to do that. Like I said, there are dark Spider-Man comics, there are dark Spider-Man stories. If you're gonna really go that route, do it, but do it well. Do it in a way that is compelling.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing is, Dark Knight is compelling.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't just like, oh, it's dark and it's grounded, because we're not doing all of the fantasy based stuff. Like, there are no squirting flowers and all this other stuff. But Batman is a character that lends itself to that kind of thing because he doesn't have superpowers.
Mm-hmm.
He uses gadgets. Spider-Man doesn't necessarily lend itself to that because he's a guy that got bitten by a radioactive spider.
Yeah.
There's only so there's only so much reality based stuff you can do with that property.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, as I said earlier, man, this whole thing feels like just a random thing. In the second movie, again, I'm not a fan of that second movie, but like I am glad that they got to bring this thing full circle because the multiverse can fix about anything. It can fix everything. Actually, it can explain a lot of stuff. Is it a cheap way out? Sure, but I don't care because we got three Spider-Man in one movie. And we've never seen three Batman in one movie. I'll tell you that much. Probably never will.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm glad that it, like you said before, he got his happy ending. I'm glad that he got redemption for what happens to Gwen in part two. So I'm glad all of it came back together. But this is still such a random flick. Where do you think this fits in the grand scheme of things? I mean, do you think people have enough of a fond memory of it that it'll hold up? People will go back to it. Do you think some people just want to sweep it under the rug? What do you think?
It depends on who you ask. I know a lot of people that really enjoy the Amazing Spider-Man movie,
Mhm,
particularly the first one. The second one is kind of universally panned,
mhm.
but I know a lot of people that like this movie and like the potential of this franchise. And I think for some people, it feels like a missed opportunity more than anything.
Mhm.
And I feel the same way, even though I'm saying I wasn't the biggest fan of this movie. I do think it was a missed opportunity because you had such a great cast, and I think with a better script and some better ideas, it could have been better. Boy, I would have really loved it if they came into this instead of leaning into the Oscorp stuff. They came in and just made a street level Spider-Man movie. You're gonna make it dark. You're gonna make it gritty. You're gonna make it different than the Sam Raimi movies. Raimi didn't do any of the street level stuff. You could have came in and you could have gone way left field. You could have had Hammerhead here. You could have had Silvermane. You could have set up
Ooh.
like all this like mob gang warfare stuff around it, and it would have been a completely different movie.
Well, that would be interesting.
I mean, just imagine if all of the stuff happens at the beginning of the movie with Martin Sheen as Uncle Ben, and Uncle Ben's killer gets away, and he spends like the first whatever 20 minutes or so searching for this guy, and we get a scene of him running into like a pool hall or something, and he goes in the back, and the guy he meets with is Hammerhead.
Mm.
Come
You
on, man.
That's pretty cool, but do you think it would have been too much for mainstream audiences?
You didn't have to have Hammerhead have like a literal flat top,
Well,
but you
no,
could have
yeah.
had like you could have had him just be like basically nickname Hammerhead or something like that. Even if
Sure.
you didn't want to go with Hammerhead, you could have went with any other like the mob. Like you could have went with Silvermane. You could have went with uh I don't know. You could have went with Tombstone.
Tombstone, I was gonna say, yeah.
You could have set up Kingpin, and by the end of the movie, you could have gotten back to the big teaser of the big bad for the second movie is Oscorp.
Mhm. Yeah, it's almost like they felt the need to, like they had to get the Osborne thing in here, and I'm like, I just don't know if you needed to,
Yeah,
honestly.
and then we never really got Norman. We didn't get
No.
Norman in the second movie. We got a terrible Harry in the second movie.
Yeah, no kidding. God, man, I have forgotten most of that film, buddy.
Yeah. I actually, when that movie came out, I went to see it twice because I saw it opening day, and then I had a free ticket to see it. Because if you bought the box set for Spectacular Spider-Man on Blu-ray, it came with a free ticket.
Interesting.
So I saw it twice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least you only had to pay one time.
Yeah. Funny enough, I enjoyed myself a lot more going to see it the second time in the movie. It was a fun movie-going experience, but yeah, the movie wasn't great.
No, not great. Yeah. Well, kids, we mentioned earlier we've got the first two Spider-Man movie in the archives. We have yet to do that part 3, and maybe one day we'll hit it, but it's a tough watch. A lot of hokey moments that have been replayed for years, which kind of have become iconic, honestly.
Yeah, the evil Peter Parker dancing stuff has kind of become like an iconic thing. It's been used in a
Yes.
bunch of other things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. Wild how things kind of come back around, you know?
I kind of feel like the Raimi films are like the Donner Superman films in a way.
That's a good call. I agree with that, actually. That makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
Which essentially would make these movies Man of Steel.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, well, this is by far a better movie than Man of Steel, but I'm not a fan of Man of Steel. I'm not a fan of that movie. At least we didn't get Uncle Ben telling Peter not to save him as the tornado comes
Don't
through.
save me from this tornado.
Don't be saving me, Peter. Just stay over there. Be fine. But I can literally save you. No, don't do that. Just don't. Don't do it.
Yeah, Ben just standing out in the middle of the street, looking for him when he ran away from the house, and he sees him from across the street, and he just puts his hand out, "Don't save me," and then he gets hit by a car.
Yes. Don't save me, Peter. But I could literally do it right now. I don't even have to run. I could just jog to you. No, don't. Don't do it.
He's just standing there with his hand out, and they say that a hero can save us.
Oh God.
Yeah, way.
Freaking Nickelback. What a weird time.
Yeah. What a time. Nickelback on a soundtrack.
Ugh. Yeah, well, that's how we're going to end, kids. We're ending with Nickelback. I didn't see that coming. But that's how we're ending this freaking episode. Friggin' Nickelback. So yeah, it's still not cool to be a fan, everybody. You may think that's come back around. It ain't come back around. It still ain't cool to be a fan of Nickelback. You can like who you want, but no, It ain't. It still ain't cool. So, Phil, before we get out of here, let's get your last word on the Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, I did not like this movie when it initially came out. I let time pass by. I watched it again. I still didn't like it. On rewatch for this podcast, I was watching it, and I thought at one point maybe I was too hard on this movie. I got through the end of this movie, and I was like, nope, still not a big fan of this movie. But I do think, as we said throughout this episode, that Andrew Garfield and the cast is really the best part of this movie. They try their best to elevate this script into a good movie. I don't know that they succeed, but I think that there's a lot to like here about this movie, and I understand why people hold it in such a high regard and they think that there's such great potential for this franchise. Because there was. I think that there are bright spots here that could have turned into a better movie with better execution and some better scripts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. As we said many times during this show, kids, that the pieces were there, but the story needed work. And, it just wasn't. I don't know that it was actually meant to fit together because look where we ended up. We ended up with Tom Holland, who is effing fantastic. And we ended up with a Spider-Man film that had the 3 Spider-Men in it. Like, again, effing fantastic. So everything got wrapped up with a bow. And so I can't be mad about that. I love Garfield. I support that guy and watch him in anything he's in. I think he's great. Yeah, again, kids, if you're going to see this movie again or whatever, I encourage you to see it again because, he's wonderful. And you'll get something out of it if you're a comic book guy. And if not, it's a couple hours. Again, chill out, popcorn, whatever you got. And don't overthink it because it's a dude in a suit swinging around like a spider. Sometimes we take this stuff way too seriously, but I got something from it, put it that way. But again, I'm glad we got Tom Holland. And we're moving on, kids, because once that new Spider-Man film hits, be guaranteed we'll be covering it here. So keep your eyes open for that. That'll be coming at some point down the road. When we get there, we'll get there. But in the meantime, that is The Amazing Spider-Man.
Hey, thanks for listening to the show. Check out our social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 6M Podcast. We'll see you next time.